Hello everyone, this is Linna again. So here I am again at the Olympic terminal. Okay, but I have a notebook I want to show you because I made the poem The Hill We Climb. And here is the notebook they made of that. And I just want to read the first page because it's the ending of the poem that was left out. Obviously, to put the ending here. So it's just nice they included it even though it wasn't apt enough for the poem to be included. Okay. For it's our grief that gives us our gratitude, shows us how to find hope if we ever lose it. So ensure that this ache wasn't endured in vain. Do not ignore the pain. Give it purpose. Use it. This is just forward for the video that's coming. So hello to everyone again. It's really nice you've been watching my videos and subscribing to my channel. Mwah. I love you guys. Okay, so I'm talking about today again. I'm talking about a man that I really love and who is my boo. So just watch out because he's a whirlwind of a man, and that's why I'm talking about him. Even though he's long gone, he died back in 2016. Okay, so this particular movie that I'm talking about is called Knives Out, which I prefaced in my former video, and the next 3 videos are going to be about this movie, even though I'm not recounting the entire movie. I'm only recounting, let's say, the start of the action, the beginning of it, but I'm I'm just recounting the most important bits, let's call it that. And if there's any questions and wishes, I can go further, dig deeper into it, but this is now a lot already. 3 videos just about this one, so okay. In YouTube, this movie is of course referenced in Danish because that's where Volvo did his Volvo crimes in Denmark. So the reference goes, Var det mord? Was it a murder? Knives Out. Okay? I will translate here some of the Wikipedia article on this man since I can't find it in English. So the man I'm talking about is called Matti Markkanen, and he was called Matti Volvo Markkanen by the media, so that's the nickname he got. So that's why he was called just Volvo by most of his followers. So here's the Wikipedia section I've translated. As the reason for exactly choosing a Volvo car, Markkanen has mentioned the fact that in the Denmark of the 1960s, the particular brand of car was advertised as break-in sure, so he experienced the stealing of such a car as a kind of challenge. He got to know the car by renting one and learning how it can be taken into use without keys. To the robberies themselves, he tells the motive to have been the longing for excitement and the desire to object to the conditioning authorities. So that's the kind of man we're talking about. By the way, as you're watching this movie, which I hope you are, I have to say I always used to have my phone screen broken in almost exactly the way they display it, and I really am not on Twitter anymore, only on Instagram. Because that's my shtick. Instagram. But I plan to get back into Twitter as I have announced on my Facebook. Okay, so this is the preface for the whole thing. So just don't mind me, just play along. Okay, bear with me as I attempt to explain some of my working methods. I customized this story as a confession as much as a way of saying thank you to the family. This book is all about Matti Volvo Markkanen, the most famous criminal in the Nordics. Bank robber, that is to say, and trained by the KGB as a spy, and also worked for a Parisian terrorist group because of his wife who was murdered. Okay, so I knew him when he lived in Helsinki towards the end of his life. So here are some bullet points I've made from the story. The dogs are that breed because one time the man had a run in with the police, who of course used that breed of dogs. One of the dogs came out and bit one of the policemen on the ass when it was supposed to catch the criminal, since they were there to arrest him for a robbery or whatever it was that time. The mug says, "My house, my rules, my coffee," so that the viewer knows what he is all about. If he had had a house of his own, he certainly would run it with his own rules as he did his connection empire. See, he had all sorts of connections running from the lowest ranks of society up to the highest ranks. The police once again asked him what is this all about when they found opera tickets in his belongings, since he had been all around Europe and gone to see Luciano Pavarotti, for example. This is another thing he mentions in a TV interview, but his book also talks about it. So there was two books originally. The book was divided in two, but then it was later published as a one-off. But it's called The Chameleon, so you can find that one in many languages, but not in English, which is interesting. I had him be a writer because that's what he essentially was all his life. He was given certain materials from other people to write his life a very certain way, such as his father being the head of censorship in Finland Defense Force, but he just took it and wrote his life a different way. He also helped the police as criminal experts, so that also employs his deduction and all those skills. That's the same imagery that is so often described as the old man of the seas, so it's very befitting they used that too. And Harlan surely has his connections strongly in the seas, such as shipping and all that. He is multi talented too. He has two offices here, so the downstairs office represents all the legal work he did with some companies later on in life, and of course the fantasy of a proper office. And of course for Harlan, it represents his affluence there. The upstairs office, so called, represents his small studio apartment he had in his later life living in Helsinki, where I also lived with him for a small while, and where we had most of our conversations and encounters because I spent time there even when I wasn't living there. He had his TV and radio, and that was good for him. Towards the end, he also purchased a tablet and was using the internet somewhat. He had a computer, PC, and I used it to show him certain music videos, Jennifer Lopez and that. She wakes up to the jitters of his demise 1 week later, but in reality I didn't wake up to the pain until about 2 years later, and I commenced to cry for about 4 years. Walt Thromby is a character inspired by one colleague at a theater program, so I won't discuss that further. She needed an introduction by the younger daughter, who is of lower status, of course, so that's why they went with her. But nevertheless, someone from the family to account for the fact that I met with his immediate family, who accepted me very fondly, and whom I admire for their perseverance in the face of adversity, which they faced, of course. This meeting also allows for her pain to show, as she is seemingly unable to speak for herself, although it of course also shows she fears the police. Obviously, I didn't go to the funeral. I was almost invited to go see him in the hospital, but no one ever mentioned that he wanted to see me. I didn't go, and I had my reasons. There was a Facebook invite to the funeral, that means public invite, by the young daughter, but I never saw it on time. I remember nothing being told to me about the funeral. I only saw it at the cover of the tabloids, the death, I mean. Linda as a character is of course inspired by none other than yours truly. She speaks my mind and is a general jerk, while of course being the one other than the nurse to have a close and fond relationship with the old man. So she gets to explain that more complicated side of dealing with him, that need for a special code language which limits so much and makes a normal relationship impossible. I account that for the war trauma, meaning not only the skills and method of conduct of intelligence services, but battle also. He just was not burdening the people around him with the grotesque experiences he had, both in battle as well as in prison life. Wagner always acts as a comic relief, so of course he is a fan. This type of policing, my Matti also had a share of his own during his time. It's also supposed to give a nice village feeling to the story of a worldly man, something which he also excels at, because he just is that amazing, just the way you are. The knife display, of course, acts as the throne the characters are thrown to, just to prove their true character, as interrogation does. I just wanted the house to have a reminder of the precarious sides of success, as well as a reference to the battle with which it was fought and won. Matti was all about the guns, so a knife display is required. The true detective of the story must be black. And they delivered with the most beautiful man I have ever seen, and he acts out his character with exactly the grace I meant. Thank you. Fran speaks out my escapades in the dating world, so nice touch. The Great Nana is added as a tribute to the man's mother, who once, upon an attempted robbery, took out her revolver and held the gun to the would-be robber's face and asked, "To the balls or the head?" The name is just a stroke of good fortune. Here they have given simply the best possible introduction to Benoit Blanc. He truly is the James Bond of the story, hence the choice of actor. Sleuth, of course, is a direct reference to Matti. That's why he states he is ornamental. His speech is given a Scottish Texan drawl for a good reason. The coin is added as a reference to the Russian custom of leaving money on the table in the house. So I will be continuing in the next video from this. There's still 2 more videos to come, so everybody stay tuned and thank you for listening. Have a nice night.